can give back to you guys is talk about something that I'm heavily passionate about, I'm an expert in, and I always want to keep learning more about. So it's really all things nutrition, and essentially how we can help make decisions with our fork that are going to make you more money. Because when you think about it, I love that. I love the eyebrow, the skepticism, because that's what I'm here today to talk to you guys about, how you can make more money with your fork. I was going to say mouth, but it's a little bit inappropriate. Why is nutrition worth your time? Have you guys ever thought about that? Hands up real quick. Have you even considered it? Being like, oh, should I give it a crack? Should I look at it? Anybody? Yeah, okay, cool. Everything comes back to nutrition. Weight loss, weight gain. Optimizing your health and longevity. Minimizing your injury or disease risk. Increasing your work productivity. Eating well can reduce or delay your fatigue. What's the number one thing that we have as founders? We've got drive. We've got stuff that we want to get done. If we're going to let fatigue get in the way of that and do that toxic resilience shit, oh yeah, I'll just push through. How many coffees can you smash in a day? And all of a sudden you can't think straight because you're doing this. There's a reason why everything comes back to nutrition. I like to use this analogy when I discuss this topic, and it's that, you are that table. I want you to kind of put your face molded into that table somewhere, somehow, okay? I'm not sure if you guys got kids, but if you've got kids, you've got kids, yeah? They're important to you. Everything that's important to you now sits on this table. Your kids, your work, what we do for our careers, our things that we like. It could be a nice watch, it could be a nice car, it could be whatever that brings you purpose. For me, I like clothes, so that would be my thing. Then we've got, your holidays, what you like to do, everything that brings you purpose and you're like, yeah, I'm excited to do that one thing. Riding your bike with your friends, getting outside, fine dining with your partner. Now imagine if that table broke. What happens? Everything that's important to you drops. Now I understand that might be a bit deep, potentially an angle that you've never looked at it like it before, but you are that table, yeah? Oh shit, new clicker. You are that table. Everything that is important to you rests on that table. So why should you not value your health and what you put into your body even more than those on top of it? Because you can't enjoy them if you're not there for yourself. Cool, so that's the table analogy, really helps encapsulate it. But at the end of the day, there's a reason why we're all here. And there's a reason why there are nutritionists, there's people like me that come and do talks to people to help people upskill in this area, is because nutrition is actually super complex. The thing is that it's actually quite cyclical as well. A lot of the time, you're probably going to hear things that are just repackaged, re-imaged, and all of a sudden you've got this new fad diet that's going to help you drop a certain amount of weight really quickly. A good one is, what is that? The guy, the Liver King. I'm not sure if you've ever heard of him. This guy just eats like liver. Yeah, it's a real thing. I know you've never heard of it. Yeah, it's a real thing. It's all about the ancestor days, and eating like the ancients. Well, I'm not going to get into it. What he's just promoting is a low-carb, high-protein diet that we have known for years as well. So that's what I mean by it's quite cyclical. And that's something to be wary of. So you've got that. One, it's actually quite complex. There's a reason why we have nutritional science degrees and we've got textbooks about it. Two, you're running away with marketing. You're running with marketing. People putting their perspective, putting their name on something, their product, and all of a sudden you've got this compelling reason to go for it. At the same time, it's actually an emerging science too. So it's not like what I'm about to say to you today is the be-all, end-all textbook definition. It's biblical, however you want to put it. There are going to be some things that are going to challenge what I'm going to say, and that's cool. I like that because that helps me provide better, updated quality information to you. And it's also not just about what we eat. We have other factors that like to come in and play the game. But our genes, our gut microbiome, our physical health. But that's nutrition science as a whole, I like to put it into that context that this stuff is hard shit to get your head around. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't give it at least some brain energy or power worth of your time. So something really quick, I see this a lot. My PT gave me my calories in a meal plan. Who's had that or had some sort of similar experience before? Yeah, cool. So I would like to make this really clear. This frustrates the shit out of me. Reason why is because as a sports nutritionist, we are to provide personal dietary plans and nutritional guidance to athletes or individuals engaged with activity. A PT is legally not allowed to give you anything that you can get more from a government website here. So you've got to be critical with where you get your information from. There's lots of people these days that you scroll on Instagram, maybe even LinkedIn, that will say these are the 5 best things that you can do to lose weight. And all of a sudden you're like fixated on that person. You're like, oh, this guy, he's a shit. He's everything. She is as well, whatever, however you want to put it. If someone came up to you on the street and said that to you, what would you do? In Australia, we would tell them to, yeah. There's no difference. Put your critical thinking hat on when you look at social media. And again, guys, this is to help you with your health here. I'm not teaching you how to do tech build outs or anything crazy because that's not my realm. So this is what you're going to learn. The nutritional pyramid, energy balance and calories, macronutrients and fiber, fluid, and work productivity tools and takeaways, guys. After Q&As, yeah? If you've got any questions or anything like that, let's run through it. So has anybody seen this type of infographic or way of describing? Okay, cool, we're going nod. Yeah, cool as. What this essentially does is it dictates a pyramid of the factors that matter the most to how you look and feel. So we've got, your behavior and lifestyle is ultimately the ground, yeah? Then you've got energy balance, macronutrients, micronutrients, nutrient timing, and supplement. What this does, and we're only going to be focusing on these first 2 today, but what this does is that it helps you understand that it becomes behavior first, then calories, then macronutrients, and etc. It doesn't go take the vitamin B6 because you saw an ad at Holland & Barrett. Now all of a sudden you've got more energy. Okay? That's not how it works. And I've got lots of studies to reinforce that. But what works is looking at it from your behavior and lifestyle first, then energy balance, and then proteins, carbs, and fats. Okay? Not supplements. And what I like about this is it actually puts your efforts, the things that you care about the most, into something that's actually going to bring you a return with your time. That should be on everybody's agenda. You shouldn't be wasting time. So calories and food. What is a calorie? A calorie is a unit of energy measured by the potential for our body to use it. Its link to food is through the main macronutrients, carbs, proteins, and what's the last one? Somebody give it to me. Say something, go on. There we go, yeah, nice and simple. So we obtain energy from food through 3 different types. Carbs, fats, proteins, okay? That process of it, how it all essentially goes from, I wish there was a food item around me. But if you had this was a banana, from that to actually being used in the body, essentially it's by digesting, assimilating, and metabolizing. Really simple stuff. The bottom line of what I'm trying to get at is that the calories that are measured in energy, they are obtained through food, okay? So that should be a good little lens to look at your food. Okay, this is actually energy. This isn't what may have never looked at it from that perspective before. Food is energy. So how can we use that to our advantage? Before we actually address that question, we need to understand this concept between energy balance. I want to picture you're on a seesaw with your best friend. One is you guys weigh exactly the same all of a sudden, and energy's coming in, energy's coming out, everything's the same. Theoretically, if you ate exactly what your daily needs would be, and you sat on the couch and did nothing, you would stay the exact same. nothing would change. Nothing. It's pretty cool when you look at it from that perspective. The things that contribute to that energy out equation, because obviously energy in is quite simple, you've got food. There's not really other energy that can come. Hey, with energy out, it's broken up into like 4 major sections with how energy out can contribute is kind of happened. We've got the energy that's required to break down food. Have you guys known that? Do you guys know that at all? It's a really oversimplified version of it, but when you get into a car and you have a battery that gives the engine a bit of a spark to get it going. I'm really shit with cars, by the way. That was the best I got. But that's what this process is. Your food that you eat needs energy to be broken down. So there's actually processes in the body that help you break down the food that you eat with its own energy that it creates. So that's where some of that energy goes, 10%, really small, nothing crazy, small bits. Another 10% is actually your exercise. How many people here probably think that exercise does a lot more than what you now see with this little graph? We've got one, yeah. Everybody thinks that it's exercise. Really, it's really not. But it's important, don't get me wrong, it's very important, but it's not as big of a piece of the puzzle or pie. We've got NEAT, which is just another way to say extra movement. Picture fiddling, like everything that you're doing now, moving your neck a little bit, touching your face, that's NEAT. So we're actually using energy by doing that. And then your BMR is like your basic things that you need for life. Your locomotion, which is movement, me doing this. Brain function, which is me, talking to you guys now and not just falling asleep. And you got my hormone production, which is stuff like cortisol, which is keeping me awake, talking to you guys. This is all stuff that the body needs energy to run off. So the reason why I bring that up is because it helps you paint the picture of, okay, why is calories important? So potentially this helps bring about the importance of that you can't just smash caffeine or coffees or eat nothing all day and expect your body to be functioning. It doesn't do that. As much as you want to tell yourself it does, it can't roll like that. I've tried lots myself, but it didn't want to work. So the calories link to macronutrients, really simple. You got your proteins, carbs, fats. Proteins are used to help build and repair muscle tissue. Carbohydrates are our body's #1 energy source. Can't stress that enough. Carbs are the body's #1 energy source. Fats are very important for hormonal health as well as reproductive health too, and some energy. Fiber, guys, I'll go over this really quickly, but fiber is something that we can't digest at all, but it helps feed our gut microbiome, particularly in the the large intestine. So it is important. You can't just eat rice cakes and honey all day. You do need to have some sort of fiber. And to put in perspective, this looks like your whole plant-based foods, vegetables, grains, pulses, and lower fiber sources like, for example, your white bread. So if your diet is predominantly coming from these type of sources, it would be worthwhile to switch and start having more of these type of sources into your diet. Nothing crazy, but just slightly start introducing that, being a little bit more mindful, that's all. To put it in perspective, guys, actually, if you want to know the specifics here, you can, but the hand size worth of veggies in each meal. Yeah, literally, good palm, that bad boy of veggies. Yeah, nice and simple. Cool, before we touch on fluid, does anybody have any questions? We're good, cool.
I was going to ask a question.
Yeah.
Around the exercise element, I was driving 10%. So if somebody does like circuit training or whatever, that's only 10%, only contributes 10% of the daily burn.
Yeah, so a good way to put it is that you're not wrong, and like what I said wasn't incorrect either, but it can change depending on the individual. Let's say I just recently ran a marathon. All my training for the marathon would far exceed that 10%. So it depends on the person. So some individuals or some graphs will say like 15 to 20, depending on what you do. But it's not as much of a chunk as you probably would expect. That's how I like to put it, yeah. So fluid, guys, I'm not sure if you've ever, has anybody ever told, I've definitely told my girlfriend, I'm like, why do you have a headache? I'm like, have you had any water today? That's the reason. Obviously, there's lots of other things that contribute to it. Like, I'm not disclosing anything else, but a large majority of our mental fatigue, especially staring at a computer, comes down to your fluid intake. So this can be as simple as just ensuring that you're having around, under 4 liters if you're a male, and around 3 liters if you're a female. And now my biggest tip here is invest and keep a water bottle with you at all times. It's simple things like this that really help with your cognition, okay? And what I mean by fluid, I thought I had this in, but fluid is anything from coffee, tea, energy drink, water, potentially alcohol, I'm not gonna lie, because it is fluid. So that doesn't have to be water, okay? A lot of people like to just think, oh, I need to have water all the time. No, you're having water and fluid from lots of other things, yeah?
Doesn't like tea or coffee dehydrate?
It's actually quite a misconception. People think that coffee in particular is a diuretic. I believe that's the way they say it. In the research, it's been shown actually not to be. It's just different on an individual basis. Some people have coffee and they get the sensation to go to pee. Some people don't have that same experience to caffeine. Yeah. So I'm not too sure on alcohol, but I know if I smash 2 pints of beer and I haven't drunk any water beforehand, my seal's not broken for a while. And I'm like, yeah, sick. But if I have had some water beforehand and I've had 2 pints, like, yeah, I'm going to the bathroom. So it does depend on those type of factors. Yeah, yeah. Obviously, we got any other questions, or is that cool? All right, now we're going to talk about work productivity. So what I was just talking about then was the importance of just general nutrition basics, yeah? I understand that was a little bit of a nutrition lecture, so we're not going to get into anything like that. Now we're just going to be giving you facts that you guys can take away to help with your work, yeah? So sleep. Sleep is one of the biggest things that you can do today that is the cheapest, most cost-effective, the best thing that you can do to get on top of your work performance. If your sleep is shit, you will be shit. At the end of the day, I know it's blunt, probably swore a bit too much there, but like that is how much I value sleep. So your sleep is very, very critical. As you probably know this, when you have poor sleep, how much does your work the next day suffer? How much does your threshold for dealing with shit suffer? Yeah? Even just little things, road rage, all those little things will suffer. They will come into it if your sleep is poor. How many times have you woken up and you've had a terrible sleep and you've been really hungry? Yeah, your sleep regulates your hunger hormones as well. So your sleep is one of the best things that you can do to get on top of your health and your work productivity, okay? So what this looks like is looking at, you obviously got your stages of sleep here if you're looking to get into more of like the science behind it, but in particular, your sleep hygiene. Has anybody heard of sleep and hygiene put together? Yeah, cool. It's been very popular on podcasts as of late, but there's a reason why. And sleep is a very emerging new science. It's gonna keep on coming out and keep on showing how important it is. I think there was a study that showed a 5% increase in NBA shooters after a group of them who had no regulations on their sleep versus a group that did have regulatory measures of their sleep. 5% is a lot in the basketball game. I'm not sure if you guys know NBA, but I love NBA. I used to play for years. 5% can really make or break a game. So what I highly suggest you do is look at your sleep hygiene. What are you doing before bed? What is your bed set up to be? As well as having some deliberate defocus before bed. I know it's really hard. I'm victim of it too. I'll look at my emails, 9:30, yeah, or even like 30 minutes before I go to bed. Some of you probably don't go to bed at 9:30, but like you will wake up, look at your emails, or look at your computer and wake up, and before you go to bed, look at your emails, look at your computer. Totally get it. I'm the same, but we both have to try and remember that if we have deliberate defocus before we go to bed, it will help with our sleep, which will help us show up tomorrow, It's essentially it. So here's a little quick, what I like to call my sleep hygiene protocol that I implement with my clients and myself. So if you can adhere to a regular sleep routine when possible, that's key. You know, if you can get to bed at regular times and wake up at regular times, that's a huge win. Natural light in the morning and the evening. I know, like, ever since I moved here, you guys have got some extremes, man. Like, what the? Anyway, what I suggest you do, especially during the winter, is try and buy like one of those natural little lights. You know, those little dimming lights. I've seen them all over TikTok. I should have bought one, but I didn't. But you can get them where they will naturally come up at around like 5:36 or whatever time you wake up, and naturally dim you down at around, you know, whenever you go to bed. Dimming the lights between 12 and 4 p.m. if you know you do find that you have a stereotypical sleep pattern. And then if you do have naps during the day, limit your naps to 90 minutes. The reason why is because what we don't want to do is get into a state of rapid eye movement when we are having our naps during the day, because that will affect our sleep at night. So when you sleep and you're having your little naps, try to keep it to around 30 to 60 minutes. Limit caffeine intake 6 hours to 8 hours before bed. It's individual based on the person. Yeah, you might be able to smash a coffee and go to sleep. I know I can't, but for some they can. So it's based on you, but just be aware of your caffeine intake around your sleep. So here's like a little sleep neurochemistry kit that I like to take, guys. So if you are into your supplements, I do highly suggest this combination here is going to help get you a better and deeper quality of sleep. So that's a little hack that I like to use. In terms of focus, I'm not sure if you've heard or seen, you know, the big trend of deliberate cold water exposure. What's that guy who's like doing the face buckets? Yeah, he's doing all that. Yeah, that's cool as to see that happening, but way over the top. You don't need to do anything like that. You can just jump in the shower if you want to and put it on really cold. Hold it for 30 seconds, you know, if you want to. I can guarantee you'll leave feeling better than when you walked in. I know you're probably like, oh yeah, that sucks. Yeah, it does suck. That's why the body responds in that way, because it's like, ooh, it's cold. So you're naturally releasing chemicals in your brain that boost adrenaline and dopamine as soon as you're woken up. So let's say if you're woken up and just feeling groggy, try and do a deliberate cold water shower to whatever you can comfortably expose yourself to. I'm not saying you need to be, the Iceman, Hoffman or something like that. You just need to get that little bit, Wim Hof, yeah. You just need to get a little bit of cold water in you and it'll get everything going, yeah? Now, focus, fasting first, fed. This is quite a controversial topic. Who here likes to fast in the morning? Please, there's no judgment. You can do whatever you wish. Awesome. Do you feel energized when you are fasted? Yeah, cool. Yeah, obviously. And the reason why is because it gives you that neural energy, adrenaline. Neural energy. It's your body's intrinsic response to it being limited on fuel. So naturally. When you're in a fed state, this gives you caloric energy, like what I was speaking to you about before, how calories are energy that we obtain through food. Carbohydrates in particular, neurons thrive off it. Our brain thrives off carbohydrates. 99.7%, might be a little bit, I think 99.5%, but 99.7% of the brain's energy comes from glucose, which is carbohydrates broken down in the stomach, enters the bloodstream, and then gets sent to the brain. So your brain, the number one thing that's trying to get you to launch a product, a sales pitch, whatever it might be, if it's deprived of its number one thing that it likes for energy, it's just not going to function. So that's why your neurons really thrive in a caloric energy state. Being overfed, how many people have had this? You've had a good Sunday roast and just felt like, yep, cool, that's me. I'm going to pass out at 4:30. So there can be, there's a balance between the two. Now, I also suggest, some binaural beats in the background. You can literally just look this up on Spotify if you haven't, or on YouTube. Yeah, and it's fantastic. It can get you into the zone. It's being shown in studies as well to be a great cognitive enhancer, yeah, without having to take anything in that sense. There is a little bit of a neurochemistry kit here that I sometimes do take myself. These are all supplements that have been shown through the research to actually provide a cognitive benefit. I'm not trying to preach fad or pseudoscience here. Now, like I mentioned, it's kind of the reason why this topic is a little bit, you could say, people aren't 100% on either or which one works, is because of this. You skip breakfast, you're in a fasted state. This triggers an acute sympathetic response, the release of catecholamines, which is adrenaline, noradrenaline, all those hormones and neurochemicals that get you going, yeah, naturally. That's why it feels so good when you are in that fasted state, because you're accomplishing something, because you've got that natural release of hormones or neurochemicals, catecholamines. Now, the science has shown, it doesn't seem to have any net cognitive gains for the average person. However, I like to make this really, really clear. Some feel no difference. Some love it, some thrive off it, and suits them. Some have no food in their brains, so they feel really tired and really lethargic. Fair enough. Studies have shown better cognition performance in a fed state versus a fasted state. So there are legitimate studies that have shown that fed is your go-to for cognitive performance. However, I like to stress the importance that if it suits you, keep going. It's just more information for you guys to go off. This is something to be wary of. If you do skip breakfast, it can cause greater cravings throughout the day and can cause you to overconsume in the PM. So if your goal is for weight restriction or a little bit of a healthier kick, introducing your breakfast will help with those PM cravings. So when we're looking for the composition and types of food in our meals, we're going to go for a protein source. Why? For building and repairing tissue that helps keep us full. Guys, little palm size here. Chicken, tuna, Greek yogurt, that type of vibe. Then we've got a carbohydrate source, again, for physical and mental energy, a palm size here. Brown rice, sweet potato, apples. Good fat sources. We've got, for energy and essential life support, this can look like avocados, cashews, olive oil, seeds, other nuts. It doesn't have to just be those. And I shouldn't have put good fat sources, terrible way to say it, but plant-based fat sources are pretty much your golden for most health outcomes. It's the saturated fat sources that are fine in moderation, but too much can kind of incline some health diseases, but in moderation, perfectly okay. Then we've got veggie sources. Veggie sauce is just a fistful. I think we all know what our veggies look like. Very important for micronutrients, polyphenols, as well as antioxidants, which helps general functioning. So on the plate, it should look like this. You've got your carbohydrate sources, your lean protein sources, your veggies, and your fats, okay? More often than not, and I can't stress this enough, the most simplest nutrition advice is the correct nutrition advice. There's no product or anything like that other than those neurochemistry toolkits I suggested before, there's no real product that I'm trying to push here because it is really simple nutrition that works the most. Obviously, when times are rushed and you haven't got much on or whatever it might be, things might look different. I'm going to share with you what you can do in those situations. But when you're in the kitchen and you're just like, you feel a little bit overwhelmed because you may have watched this and may start thinking about it and upskilling in other areas, I want you to default back to simple, stupid. Keep it simple. Just keep it simple, and you'll be far better off than trying to make it really complicated. Bonus, guys, so conveniently store-bought meals versus cooked and packaged whole food meals. This is huge here. We don't have meal deals in Australia. We don't have all those type of things. So yes, they are convenient. Yes, they have a sandwich, they have chips, and they have some sort of drink. That's pretty much a green light. But you do need to ask yourself, is that going to help me with my work? Is that the right fuel I need? So those are just questions you should be asking yourself. An alternative that I could suggest, if you were to go get a meal deal, I don't think it is actually a meal deal, but it's still get the sandwich, get a high protein yogurt, and get an apple, or get a fruit, get your favorite piece of fruit. That way you get a great balance of all the good food characteristics in one, instead of going towards foods that aren't going to help fuel you correctly. So what I like to do as like just kind of like a general rule of thumb, always adopt for home cooked meals packed with whole foods first. Always try and do that as the default, if you can. When you're running out of time or you need to go out somewhere very quickly, conveniently bought meals are fine, but just be a bit wary that they're not as nutritionally dense and they do skip some processing in their execution. So please go for it, but just try and make it the backup plan, not the default. These could look like the M&S high protein meals, and like I said, the last resort option. So something like this being the last resort, where something like this is the first resort. Habit stacking, this is a huge one. Really easy. You're probably thinking that, oh, I haven't got time to cook all these meals, Boston, or whatever it might be. When you're making your dinner, make your breakfast. When you're making your lunch, make your dinner. Do you get what I mean? So you habit stack. Do what you're currently doing, do it with another thing. Yeah, I know that, for example, if I am wanting to have a break from work, instead of just sitting down scrolling on my phone, I'll try and make a meal for the next day so I'm prepared and organized, ready to go. I can imagine you probably feel shitter scrolling through Instagram or LinkedIn or TikTok than going ahead and making something that's going to help you and set yourself up for the next day. So habit stacking is a really, really good cheat code. And at the end of the day, guys, try your best. Like, you've got so many other things that's on your mind. You've got so many other things that are going on. This is something that takes a lot of time to develop. If you just try your best and you just try with little things on a daily basis, you'll get there. Wellness is achieved through small steps, but it's no small feat. So it only happens through small steps, okay? If you want to learn more about me and what I get up to, scan the QR code there. But guys, do we have any questions or any clarification on anything, or anything I didn't cover that you want me to talk about? Yeah.
So, one of the reasons I don't eat in the morning is I've found that if I have a breakfast, I feel tired by 2, 3 o'clock.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Whereas when I don't eat breakfast and I have my first meal at 2, I don't get that sort of afternoon slump.
Yeah, cool.
What's the reason for that?
What time do you go to bed? Okay, cool. And what did you normally have for breakfast? And did you only have that and then eat again at 2? And then you would get that slump around 2:30. What would you have for lunch? Okay, cool. It might have been the lunch. That's getting you. Because porridge is rolled oats is a great form of complex carbohydrates, which means it doesn't get digested and broken down into your bloodstream as quickly compared to let's say rice pops. So it's great that you have porridge for breakfast, but potentially if you're having lunch and you're not too sure what it is, but if it's like, say, hypothetically a meal deal where you've got the bread that's being more processed, so it's going to contain a lot less ingredients that are going to help slowly break down that carbohydrate source. You're going to have chips, and then you're going to have some sort of drink that may have some sugar in it. Your blood sugar is going to go, yeah? So potentially your lunch option may be worthwhile. You're looking at how you can get complex carbohydrates, so it could look like some sort of buffalo chicken here with brown rice. That would help give you lasting energy throughout the day. Because what you don't want to do is, especially around midday, is have something that's going to spike your blood sugar up very quickly and then drop. And it's simple switches. Instead of having white bread, go for brown bread. If you're having chips, opt for some sort of fruit. If you're having you know, a sugary drink. Potentially go for a diet drink, or combine that with a complex carbohydrate with lots of fiber. So all it is just simple switches. Yeah, yeah. So that might be a large region. How much coffee do you drink a day? Yeah. Okay. Cool. So that may also contribute as well, depending on the person. So if you were like my client and you wanted to stop that, I would look at your lunch, rejig your lunch around, and then we'll test it and then go again. And I think that's something really important. You know, guys, like you can't listen to this and be like, I'm an expert in nutrition. Like I said, you got to try your best, and a lot of it is trial and error. Like I've had that multiple times, so many times. I've actually had to pass out, go sleep for a little bit, wake up, have a coffee, and then go again. You know, and that was like 3 p.m. in the afternoon. I did that for days during my master's degree, but now I still feel like that some days I don't. You know, it's that trial and error. Yeah.
Is it a thing where if you're by the point at which you're hungry / also thirsty, you should have eaten before you got to that point? Is that because I've heard that if you eat at the point at which you're really, really hungry, it's not that it's too late, but you should have eaten earlier.
Yeah, it's kind of like game over. It's how I'm about to go to town. Yeah, it's not right or wrong. I think it's just something to bring up, you know, that a lot of people eat these days because we're either tired, bored, stressed, or hungry. Yeah, not many people eat in a way that supports them. Like, how many times have you thought to yourself, I'm going to eat now so I'm not hungry later? Probably hasn't popped up as much as you may think. So if you're waiting for yourself to eat food or deem yourself worthy to eat or give yourself permission to eat food only when your body is telling you that you are hungry, you're very likely going to run yourself into the ground with a poor relationship with food. The reason for that is because your body, more often than not, sometimes isn't on your side. It's just doing whatever it's done for. You know, one day you might be super stressed, so you might not eat a thing because your body didn't signal to eat. Then the next day, guess what the body's signaling to do? That fridge gone, completely gone, because your body has to respond in a certain way to what you did the day before. So what I suggest in that instance is to not, I'm not saying don't listen to your natural hunger signals, but be aware of a time of days or the time of the day where you eat quite well and you feel fine. So for me, I know that if I eat 5 meals a day, my energy's good. If I eat 3 meals a day, my energy's not so good. My hunger might be up at different moments, but I'm not really obeying by them entirely because I know from a logical perspective, 5 meals a day is my sweet spot. So that would mean 3 meals a day would drive my hunger up through the roof, and that wouldn't really work well for me.
So you should aim to have like you drew the graph with the blood sugar, you should also aim to have like a very level like hunger and fullness. Like I shouldn't be going from like extremely hungry to extremely full.
Yeah. That's a great way to put it. Yeah. Your goal is to, a good way to put it is I like to, like, you know when you can feel something in the tummy? Just stop there. If your goal, if you know that if you overeat, and if you have that natural, like, I'm only eating when I'm absolutely starving and the meal that I have to have needs to be the most exotic, delicious thing I've ever tasted, that is when things can kind of go down a rabbit hole and you're in denial because you're like, I'm eating because I'm hungry. Like, no, you starved yourself to the point where you're actually now eating so much that you can't actually have an on and off switch. So that's where eating till, you know, where you can feel it in the stomach and then reassess, see how you go, eat again. Yeah. Again, everybody's individual. This advice is general. I can't say to you all, this is what you need to eat. But that's obviously what I do with people in the one-to-one space. So yeah, highly suggest that you figure out a routine that works for you. And know this on these things, guys. You know, if you find yourself eating way too big a meal sometimes, look at it and be like, why am I doing this? Why am I not looking at my diet as a whole? Why am I trying to isolate one thing or one other thing? Look at your diet as a whole. Yeah. Any other questions?
You know that total daily calorie expenditure?
Yeah.
Would they give it usually as an average, but what if you don't exercise that day, but you exercise the next day and you're like, I don't know, you work out that 500 calories and then do you eat more on that day?
So first thing, you'll just burn less calories if you trained one day versus haven't trained the other. You can eat less calories, no, totally. For most though, I just say eat consistently throughout the week. Because let's say if your hypothetical weekly caloric burn was 20,000 calories and you ate 20,000 calories, then like I said at the start, with that seesaw, you would stay the same. Yeah? But if you had days where you were eating, 500 calories more than others, but you still equated to that, then you're fine. But if you find that you're restricting yourself completely down to, let's say, way below your daily needs, and then training the next day and then eating way above your daily needs, that's something I would slowly close the gap on. Yeah. So it is as simple as finances as well, guys. If you want to get into that, if that's how you tick, you've got a certain budget per day. If you go over that budget, you're a bit stressed. If you go under that budget, you're like, sweet. But again, it's goal specific. Yeah? Cool. I didn't mention much about,
Quick question, nutritional value on your food. You talk about meal prep. So in another lab, I used to prep my meals on Sunday of the week.
Yeah, cool.
Right? But I always wondered by Thursday, Friday, does chopped salad.
Yeah. Shit.
Anymore
Yeah.
on Thursday?
Yeah. Yes, yeah.
So does it degrade? Is it still worth doing?
Some of the cooking processes does degrade the actual nutritional qualities and you could say sustenance of what you get, but it's really tit for tat at that point. Like you're getting a little bit too microscopic. I'm not saying that you're saying that was your perspective, but in general, that's really my advice. There's so many other things you should be focusing on first than the cooking process. But what you said there was really important because a lot of people think, and this ties in with meal planning, back in the day, you would see these videos, maybe even now, of people doing their meal prep for the week and they see all these beautiful photos or videos and they go really quickly with their meal prep and all these, has anybody seen that before on TikTok? Yeah, looks really cool for a video, but that takes 4 or 5 hours. We don't have 4 or 5 hours. So with meal prep, what I suggest we all do is to not actually make the meals ready to eat, but ready to prep. Ready to organize, ready to put together. So what I like to do is I'll cook all my protein, chicken, steak, mince, whatever I want to have for the week, salmon. I'll cook it all, put it in the fridge in containers. I'll cook all my carbohydrates that I want for the week, rice, sweet potato, pumpkin. You guys don't really do pumpkin here. But you get the gist, pasta. Put that all in containers, put it in the fridge. All my veggies, broccoli, green peas. Oh my gosh, I have a brain fart right now. Greens, capsicum, spinach, zucchini, or you call it aubergine here. I'll cook that all, steam it, or lightly fry or air fry it, put it in containers. And then guess what? Every day, I just need to put it all together. Next day, do the same thing. You don't need to make full-on meals. All you need to do is have all your core characteristics of the foods that you eat in containers, ready to go in the fridge so you can ready to make them for the next day. Because that's how you minimize the, oh, that's disgusting by Thursday, Friday mark. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, there's a couple of books recently and I know, what's his name, Tim, the guy who does Zoe. Have you heard of the app Zoe? Yeah, super cool stuff. I think it's, it's, yeah.
Can I ask, mate, do you believe that, so for instance, it makes up, we look at the comparing to say 2,000 calories a day or whatever it might be, but 2,000 calories of ultra-processed food versus 2,000 calories of non-ultra-processed food, can that mean that you gain more weight based on that? Which I was like, interesting one, there's a lot of research backing it up.
Yeah.
You talked about eating until you're full, but all the research shows that the hormone changes within that.
Yes, yeah, definitely. And this is why I said generalize, not individualize. And I said at the start of the talk as well, I think you may have missed it. No, you'll find that there is a lot of emerging science in nutrition, and some of what I say today will be challenged in 5-10 years. So that's why I said that, because people like Tim Spector, that's his name, I believe. Maybe not, but people like him, he's got the funding, he's got the knowledge, he's leading the charge in these more individualized nutritional interventions, which are fantastic, don't get me wrong. But when we look at it for right now, what is known, in my viewpoint, is whole food should be the default. You know, if you can see that your food has pretty much either been grown from the ground or actually taken from an animal. I know it might sound a bit odd. I do apologize if I offended you in any way there, but you're pretty much golden for right now. When you want to get into, going through your DNA or your blood work and getting to that, please do that under an allied health professional. Don't just start doing it from upskilling yourself. But you will pretty much cover your basis if you go for whole foods more often than not in your diet. As a sports nutritionist, I actually like ultra-processed foods, and here's why. Because before I train, I want to have rice puffs. Do you know why? Because they're low in fiber and they're low in fat. Fat and fiber promote bloating, fermentation, and it slows down the food trafficking of contents through the gut. You don't want to go into a gym session or a run feeling like you got to fart all the time because you had a heap of broccoli. Does that make sense? But there's a time and place for it all. Now, my diet consists of probably 10 to 20% of those ultra-processed foods. The rest come from whole foods. I'm a healthy 27-year-old kid. So there are, not kid, man. This whole ultra-processed food movement is really cool to start pushing out to the general population. But if you ever see somebody, in my opinion, again, this is my advice, you ever see anybody demonize or polarize certain food groups, that's a red flag. Because there's not one bad food out there for you, in my opinion. It's the overconsumption of those foods. So that's my view, yeah.
Ultra-processed foods was developed in a similar way to create addictive things, someone goes, is it crack?
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah. Yeah. And this is why this whole conversation is tough, because we are all, I wouldn't say victims, that's a bad way to put it, but with the food industry trying to take a biohack our natural hormones or natural, you could say inclination to these type of combinations of foods, we're a victim at it a lot of the time. And there are literally people, I was being trained to be one, to be in a lab where all I do all day is put different food chemicals together, food compounds together, and which one's the most addictive, which one wants you coming back for more, which one is, that's it, you're gonna buy all our products. So you've got to be wary of that at the same time, that everything around you, even marketing, from how many times you walk past to your bus stop, how many food advertisements you see, to how cheap chips are or chocolate are compared to a piece of fruit or a piece of organic produce. That's something we also need to fight against. So it's not at all a question of is it anything bad or good? It's more of a question of this is actually really hard. This is hard shit. So yeah, it's very true that there are food chemists out there that all they do all day is try to create things together to make you come back for more. Those foods are fine in moderation, and being aware of that is key. What I like to do with variety in terms of my diet, if I'm eating similar foods or food groups on a day-to-day basis, and I go out with mates and I go to Rudy's Pizza. I love Rudy's Pizza. That place is absolutely mad. Loved it during my marathon training. But the next day, my body would be craving that food again. But the only reason why I didn't give in to those cravings is because I'm aware that that's how my body responds to eating outside my normal pattern. So it's in our best interest that if you want to make sure that you're nice and controlled with your food, that you're not really zigging or you're not really going from one side of the spectrum to the other. Like, not one day you're eating donuts, chocolate, KFC, and this and that, and the next day you're eating broccoli and rice. Your body will just like, because you don't get that hit. You don't get that endorphin rush. So it's something to be wary of. You don't want to give yourself too much variety in the sense of taste, because the body, we are suckers for it. And I was, especially myself when I was younger too. So yeah. Any other questions, guys? Anything like that? Cool as. Well, I hope you find it informative. If you do want the slides, I'll give them to Rosemary, and then she can obviously send them to you guys or put it through the Slack channel. But yeah, thanks for listening, and I appreciate the questions. And if you've got anything else, yeah, please let me know.
I will share the slides with everyone. Anyone got any questions before we go? Remind you that your impact data is due this Friday, so if you can send that over.